Hiya, I'm Bruce Fumi, the Patron Saint of Scotland. Seems obvious, doesn't it? The Saltires of St Andrew's Cross. We celebrate St Andrew's Day. Around the world, Scots meet in St Andrew's societies. But what if I were to tell you that when Robert the Bruce went to battle at Bannockburn, he had the name of another patron saint on his mind, on his lips, and his relics to the fore? I'll be honest, this episode goes far enough back that the character and some of the information is difficult to tie down. But if I were to say that St Andrew didn't become the patron saint of Scotland until after the Battle of Bannockburn, in fact, until another date of significance to Scots in 1320. If I were to tell you that the use of his flag didn't become officially accepted until a parliament later even than that in 1383. If I were to tell you that St Andrew's Day is actually an American invention created by the world's first ever St Andrew Society of Scots in South Carolina in 1729, would these things surprise you? Of course, the cult of St Andrew was strong in Scotland way before that. Seals had been made with his cross. His cross had been significant since its miraculous appearance in the sky before the Battle of Athelsonford. Margaret Canmore, St Margaret, Queen Margaret had organised the Queen's Ferry to ship folk taking the pilgrimage from Lothian to Fife to visit the relics of St Andrew. But the choice of patron saint wasn't a done deal, and there was another candidate. If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right and ring the notification bell to find out when I publish new videos. In the meantime, let me tell you the story of the original patron saint of Scotland. One of the churches in the next village to me in Perthshire is named after him. So is one in Comrie and one in Callander. The town of South Kessog, North Kessog, and a bridge in the Highlands. This boy got a boot. But he's best known here in the banks of Loch Lomond. Now, we can't be 100% certain about his date of birth, but we think 460 AD. Like many early Scottish saints and missionaries, he came across the Irish Sea. Actually, I made a video about the better known Irish missionary to the Picts, St Columba, and obviously there's going to be a link at the end to that video. It's crucial to understand Scotland's history. Like St Columba, this saint came from the Emerald Isle. Like St Columba, he was the child of a royal family. In fact, one of the earliest stories that we have about him was as a child of the royal house at Cashel in Munster. Now, neighbouring royal families were visiting the Munsters. No. And whilst the parents were doing the royal pageantry and negotiating or whatever the stuff that they do, the young princes went off to play. Now, I don't picture a medieval Sir Lancelot court of Norman fables. In 6th century Celtic Ireland, I'm picturing a much more like a wedding where the adults are lubricating social cogs with ushka of the Beha variety. A round-faced bloke called Davy Cormac's in the corner, playing his accordion, surrounded by his band members. There's hooching, there's chooching, and there are wee boys in wee kilts that have lost the formality of their wee jackets and wee elasticated bow ties, and they're chasing wee girls in satin dresses and sliding across the dance floor in as many permutations as possible. That was just a test to see if you were Scottish. If that brings back memories, then you passed. If you were the wee boy whose kilt was swirling, then you passed with flying colours. Anyway, the dance floor must have been near a river or a loch or something like that, because there was an accident and several of the wee princes drowned. The music stopped with a bone-jarring jolt. Accusations fly. Safety, security, hospitality, personal responsibility, clan loyalty, and a return to camp for weapons drawn. As the night dons its dark cloak of ill omen, the wee Munster prince takes the lead, and he spends the small hours in prayer for his little companions. And the next morning, they wake like Lazarus returned. It's a miracle! A miracle to be stored in the memory and oral tradition till many years and generations later, when it'll be perfectly recalled as if it were yesterday by folks who swear that they were there. But that's all in the future. In the meantime, at school, Kessog's careers advisor says, "Have you ever thought of becoming a miracle working monk? You seem to have the attributes." Now, the pay and conditions don't quite match that of royalty, but once you're trained up, they are always looking for missionaries, and you'll never be short of work. Oh, and there's travel opportunities as well. Guided by St Patrick himself, he headed off to a monastery, and then his travels brought him here to Loch Lomond. But I don't want you to think of the tourist trap of today. I want you to think of Loch Lomond at the cusp of the 5th and 6th century. If you watch my video, How Scotland Got Its Borders, there should be a white tab up there that you can come back to click. If you watch that, you'll see that this is smack bang on the border between three peoples who were regularly at war with each other. This was like passing your banking exams and being told that you're being sent to manage the branch in Baghdad, Mogadishu, Kandahar, or Michigan. Choose the city that's got a civil war going on at the time that you're watching. The Picts held pretty much everything from the other side of the loch to the east. Here, you're on the edge of Argyll and the territory of the Scots. And just south of us is Dumbarton, Dun na Breton, the fort of the Britons. St Kessog built his monastery on this island on Loch Lomond, now called Inchtavanach, the island of the monk. He founded a church here in 510 AD. That was before St Columba was born. Now this is the modern church of St Kessog. There's an effigy of our saint inside. Now the Scots at Dalriada may have been Christian at the time that we're talking about, but that wouldn't necessarily have been the case for their Pictish or British neighbours. The churches, bridges and place names that I mentioned earlier show that from this base he travelled far and wide. Indeed, he must have ministered to the Picts before Columba. He must have made pagan enemies as well as friends though, and he was apparently murdered by pagans on the shore by his island down there in March 520 AD. But in some ways, that's where his story begins. They say that around the site of St Kessog's burial grew verdant flowers, and of course in the Gaelic tongue a flower is lus, and that's how this picturesque village on the banks of Loch Lomond got its name. Now when Robert the Bruce fled west after the Battle of Methven, he attributed his survival to get to, then across this loch and out to the Hebrides, to the grace of two saints in particular. St Fillan, who had a shrine and a cult over at Loch Earn, and of course our St Kessog, who helped what's left of his band to survive when he crossed over here. So in June 1314, a king facing overwhelming numbers, men, equipment and mounted cavalry, and what should be a one-sided battle that's not in his favour. A king who's been excommunicated by the Church of Rome and is looking to bring together a disparate nation with different languages and cultures. It's not entirely surprising that he should choose a saint from the crossing point of the three kingdoms that formed Scotland here. Not from the Roman Church, but the original Celtic church in which the nation was rooted. A saint who at this king's lowest point had taken care of him and seen him safe to the other side. Maybe that's why at Bannockburn the cry was for St Kessog, whose relics were held aloft, who truly has a claim to be the first patron saint of Scotland. But don't leave it at that. Click this link to find out about St Columba, the monk who made Scotland. Ha myn dochas gwn bí lama alive. Cheerin Rasta.